E-cigarette company Juul has agreed to pay out $438 million for marketing their products to teenagers. Okay, have we ever done a Juul or an e-cigarette story where people don't go crazy, where they don't lose their, absolutely lose their mind and just cover us up with crazy? Comments crazy, comment crazy.
You know,
yeah.
It's funny because we get, you know, the tribalists from both sides, the left and right, who love to go after us. Nobody goes after us more than the vapors. We piss them off so much, and I love it because they're so deluded to think that, no, this is a safe alternative. We're getting away from big tobacco. Who do you think owns these things, you idiots? This is big tobacco.
Right.
You're just giving them more money. Oh, and by the way, because this was the Wild West when these things came out, they're marketing these things directly to kids and teens, and now they got to pay up for it.
As a lot of the viewers know, the tobacco case originated with my law firm. We started the national tobacco litigation right here in this little town. It went all over the country. And so because of that, we got all of the documents early. You know, we have a whole room, a vault of documents. If I look at the documents from the just traditional tobacco, Marlboro Man tobacco, and the documents that come from Juul, it's exactly the same thing. Here's their game. They understood that in order to have a lifelong sale of their product, the Marlboro product, whatever it was, a Camel product, whatever it was, they had to hook the child by the time they were 14 or 15, okay? So all of the advertisement that traditional tobacco did was centered around that. Now, people that smoke these things actually believe that they're doing themselves a favor. What we're going to see is, oh, I couldn't stop smoking without Juul. I couldn't stop smoking without vaping. Well, really? You haven't stopped smoking. The stuff that you're breathing in your lungs is even worse than some of the nicotine the nicotine combinations coming from traditional tobacco.
And you're getting higher doses of nicotine, which means you are now more addicted to this substance that is as addictive as heroin. And you're not doing, like you said, you're not doing your body any favors, because a lot of these liquids and things like that, we don't even know the long-term health effects because they haven't been out there long enough. But what we do know so far from 10, 12 years of this, it's bad.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, you know, we're going to hear, well, I couldn't stop. This is the irony. I couldn't stop smoking without vaping. What in the hell are they talking? They're still smoking, only they're bringing in worse things into their lungs. And so I don't know. For a long time, we would see the vaping companies actually they'd pay $10,000 to go to a school. Okay, yeah. Then they would talk to kids about how to stop smoking. And oh, by the way, they would, in that process, would bring up vaping. They even had summer camps. You did a story on this, didn't you?
They did. They would sponsor it's not funny, but it's funny because it's so diabolically evil that you think it's not real. But they would sponsor summer camps, and they would talk about this, and they would, casually mention that vaping is a safer alternative. So, you know, this is something you could use to help get yourself off it. And we're now in a country, thanks to marketing from companies like Juul, where you've got 15% of middle school kids, preteens, that have said, yes, I've vaped in the last 30 days.
They're using the same PR companies. What we've started doing is we started suing the PR companies now. Okay, even in a pharmaceutical case, my tendency is to figure out how can I bring in the PR company that promoted the lie. So there's two things happening in the law that you're going to see developing more and more, because we're doing it. We're bringing in the PR companies, and we're also bringing Wall Street money in that financed it. And it's a whole new area of litigation that is going to make some of these people stop and think. But look, here's what I'm wondering. The FDA suspended the ban. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the FDA had come out and said, we're getting rid of these things for good, because they understand not only were they marketing to kids, they lied about the efficacy and the safety of it in their reports. They also knew that these younger users were getting these heavy doses of nicotine that was causing seizures and all kinds of things. So FDA says, we're going to stop it. And then they said, but we're going to stop the stopping of it because, it's a powerful. Juul is owned by Big Tobacco.
No, there's
so,
no
so you can't fight these billions of dollars when they also control the regulatory agencies.
And you'll never meet one of these damn politicians, whether it's in your state politics or national politics, that will say, no, I don't want your blood money. I don't want your dirty money. They pour more money into politics than you can ever dream. So the FDA, SEC, EPA, all of those regulatory agencies are affected by that.
Yeah.
And this is what's happened here. There was a ban, and then the EPA said, then the FDA says, well, no, we're going to suspend the ban.
Yeah.
Continue selling it. Amazon has hired a former private prison executive to run their warehouse training. Wow, is that poetic or what? So they get this woman that is a specialist in how to control prisoners. How do you put them in there and control them day to day in several different ways? Pick it up if you would.
Right. I mean, this is almost comically evil for Amazon to even do this, because we already know, obviously, there's horrendous conditions at Amazon warehouses, right? We've had people die. Their COVID protections were non-existent. The stories of people peeing in bottles because they're not allowed to take lunch breaks. 1 point, whatever packages per minute they have to pack. So they're like, how can we make this more efficient? Well, what if we just ran it like a prison? Because that is what these workers are already used to. So we bring in this woman, Dana Howard, who used to be with the Corrections Corporation of America, which is one of the worst.
Biggest private prison industry. I mean, it's the biggest in that industry.
They are, and they actually had to change their name because they were doing so many bad things and had bad reputation. So they say, well, this woman was kind of overseeing a lot of these horrible things at CoreCivic. Let's bring her in so that she can show us how to treat our warehouses the same way.
Well, okay, so it's how do you control prisoners? I mean, how do you get them in line? How do you get them from point A to point B? I know all the secrets, and I'm going to do the same thing for Amazon. And so the other thing is, her specialty was, how do you prevent prisoners from stealing? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Like they have access to a lot of stuff, and they can put it out on the black market by the way they send it out of the prison. And so her thing was, how do we prevent prisoners from stealing? And I'm sure that has some holdover to this new job too, don't you think?
Right, absolutely. Because obviously, if you're in an Amazon warehouse, there are all kinds of products, big and small, all up and down the shelves. So yeah, if you're a big company, you do not want people stealing from you. But you also need to understand the optics of running your warehouses like a prison.
I just wonder who's advising on this. I'm sure she's good at what she does. But it's just when you're under the kind of scrutiny that this company's under all the time. Every week there's a new awful story about Amazon. What the hell? I mean, why don't you get somebody that hasn't come from the prison industry?